Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi. Normally on Tuesdays, my friend Rashab Shakiri from the The Windy City Production YouTube channel joins us, but he will not be joining us today. And so we are pleased to join Nick Whalen from a high school coach who was on a sabbatical this past year. Also a Bears fan living out in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And also my previous guest several months ago, late last year with Patrick Sheldon, Sravan Gannavarapu out of DC area. Gentlemen, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. It's been exciting and sad time to be a Bears fan, but it will get better in the end, I feel like.
Absolutely. And it is a very traumatic times this off season has been for the Chicago Bears, and the fight between Williams's fans versus the Fields' fan that has kind of gotten a little bit out of control. Unfortunately, a lot of bickering on social media that has kind of gotten a lot worse as the uncertainty progressed, and we finally got our answers last Saturday in a midst of a very slow sports day with the NCAA conference tournaments and everything. But Justin Fields finally got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, the compensation was, at least in my opinion, was at the time when I heard that it was 6th round pick in 2025, which is conditional, becomes 4th round based on 51% of the snaps that he will play with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, gentlemen, I'm going to pose this question about Justin Fields' time in Chicago. Sravan, let's start with you since we haven't spoken in a while. How will you remember Justin Fields' time in Chicago?
It's a little bit of a sore subject, to be honest with you. When you think about the history of Chicago's quarterbacks, Justin Fields was supposed to be the guy to help break that issue. And Unfortunately, right now, it's still another long-suffering story for that franchise. And hopefully Caleb Williams, if he happens to be the guy, he can reverse it. But we know the story right now in the Windy City. There's really nothing good right now about being in Chicago because all the fighting that's going on between the fans. I really don't get it. Frankly, Justin Fields, as talented as he was, he didn't produce wins. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't win, it really doesn't matter. And frankly, the Bears have been allergic to quarterback play since their inception. So I don't know what to say other than I wish Justin Fields nothing but the best. But he's gone now. I'm more worried about what they're going to do now with this future era, and it's sad. But why I'm not surprised is quite obvious because the Bears just don't know what to do with this.
Exactly. Nick, where were you on Saturday? What was your emotions like when you heard the news about the trade to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I was actually at a combined birthday party because mine's actually tomorrow. But
happy birthday to you!
Thank you. Yeah, with my family, my phone is blowing up because I just when I'm with family, I'm connected, and I was like, okay, I got like 5 text messages very quickly, like what's going on, and I got the news, and just immediately I'm sad, and I think I'm sad for Justin. I'm sad for Bears fans because of what could have been. I mean, he was just very inconsistent in terms of there were phenomenal plays that we've never seen in Chicago that I think you could argue no one in the league has seen. Some of the runs and some of the plays that he made, and then the lows were there too. The turnovers, the sacks, the Denver game, like you're up, and then the fumble 6 and things like that. And it's just too inconsistent. I think he progressed over his career, but I 100% believe Chicago set him up to fail rookie year two when it's a clear rebuild. I mean, last year, like you think early in the year, I mean, the O-line was super beat up. And then just when Justin's doing one of these, then he hurts his thumb. It's like, it just never really came together, and you just kind of feel bad. But as the other guy just said, I mean, I really hope he does well. I'm glad he's in the AFC. I don't want to face him, at least, in the playoffs or twice a year, any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wish him the best. But it's, I was just kind of sad.
Absolutely. I think many of us will always remember the night he got drafted. I was actually in Columbus, Ohio, the night of the draft. Obviously, Justin is from Ohio State. He gambled on himself, leaving his hometown of University of Georgia to transfer. In the COVID years, before, playing in only 6 games, he really flashed tremendous, skills. And I thought it was more of a pipe dream for the Bears to move up to get him, and maybe Mac Jones was possibly the highest that the Bears could get. But lo and behold, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, out of a desperation, moved up to get him. But in kind of determining the, I don't want to do the blame game here, but I guess we can all agree that why he did not work out. There's no question that he was a victim of circumstances with the Chicago Bears. Sravan, you obviously eloquently stated that the Bears' history and dubious reputation when it comes to drafting and developing the quarterbacks, and Justin became another victim, unfortunately. And and also the Bears organization. I've been writing on BearGogglesOn.com recently that the winners and losers of this trade, that the Bears organization certainly deserve a lot more criticism, and the fans' anger towards each other over Fields versus Williams should probably put that more angst towards the organization for continuously botching the pairing of a rookie quarterback and a lame duck coach, only to be fired. The head coach to be fired after the rookie season. The quarterback's rookie season, and it seems as though we are kind of repeating the same the same old formula with Ryan Poles bringing back, Matt Eberflus, which we will get to in a bit. But so, Nick, the question is, who do you blame more on this debacle that why Fields did not turn out more? Do you put it more on Pace and Nagy versus Ryan Poles?
Man, that's a good question, because I'm, my coaching background, as a coach, I always blame myself. I don't think that you blame the players. And you think of, college football, or you think of even the NFL. I mean, the most talented teams generally win. It's not, like the NCAA tournament and you get lucky for a few games and you make a run and go to the Super Bowl. I mean, you have to be really, really talented. So I think I would go just personnel wise and coaching, because you go from, you could see it. His rookie year, he was throwing into tight windows down the seam to Kmet, to Jimmy Graham. He led the comeback against Pittsburgh. But then you saw in year 2 and year 3, he didn't throw the tight windows. It was more of like, don't make mistakes. When you have a player that makes plays, you did not make a mistake. You're really like asking a thoroughbred horse to just give slow rides in the countryside to, people on vacation. It's just like these things didn't mesh. And you could tell right away this season too. Like, he had the highs of last year where he ran well and made some plays and there was really nothing around him. And then this year it was, okay, high completion percentage, don't take sacks. Like, even in week 1 and in week 2, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't who he is. And he wasn't running much. So to me, I would lean more towards personnel with the GMs and coaching.
Okay, so do you put that on more on Pace? versus Poles. Pace obviously put together a very expensive roster that was aging and certainly didn't have enough picks to replenish those, personnel still.
Yeah, I would put more on Pace because you think of when Poles came in, his job was to make the Bears better, and even in that, he sacrificed the second to get Claypool. Well, again, it didn't work out, but I think that's more coaching than that is him. He's like, hey, at least I tried to get somebody. Now, again, you could argue you could have gotten George Pickens over Brisker, you could have done this or that, but I think those are minor things. I don't think that would have saved the entire Bears franchise or saving Justin Fields from this 101 pick. I mean, and part of this too is, on my podcast with Robert Schmitz, we talked about this. If the Bears don't have the 101 pick, let's say they only have 109 and 115, Justin Fields is still a Bear. So, part of this is Ryan Poles was so good in his trade and lucky that Justin Fields lost his job.
Sravan, do you put it more on the Pace? It was more so than Poles, even though, the argument being made was, on the Poles side, certainly, it was somewhat of a massive rebuild that, unfortunately, that the Fields had to shoulder a lot of burden in his second year when the Bears only won 3 games. And then last year, there were issues with the center positions. Neither Lucas Patrick or Cody Whitehair was not only able to pass block, but can't even snap the ball properly to save their own asses. So where do you stand on the blame game here?
I don't like to blame coaches that much. Obviously Matt Nagy kind of got a little over his head with this play calling. We saw it even in Kansas City this year, though they won the Super Bowl. The receivers that the Kansas City Chiefs had weren't exactly up to par. Matt Nagy tried to do a little too much at times. But I blame more of Ryan Pace than I do Ryan Poles. Pace was so focused on being over-aggressive and trying to build a perfect team. He didn't understand that you need to have picks to replenish the talent that you had. And unfortunately, it left a big mess for Ryan Poles to try and clean up. And as Nick mentioned, they traded that second for Chase Claypool. You thought you were getting somebody, but the guy ultimately turned out to be a massive headache. And I don't blame a GM for trying, but sometimes the best moves are the ones not made. Probably should have used that second-round pick on someone else. But again, I put more of this on Ryan Pace than I do anyone else because he did trade up for Tevin Jenkins. I get that, but Tevin Jenkins has been injury prone. So how exactly does that help you? And if you look at all the other picks he made, Larry Borum is not working out. Khalil Herbert has some juice to him, but he will ultimately not be the guy. DeAndre Swift is about to be that new featured running back. And with Caleb Williams coming in, potentially, whoever that comes in, they got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So I give Ryan Poles credit in that regard, but at the same time, he's also had his own flaws. He hasn't put as many resources in the offensive and defensive line as he should have, particularly Dexter and Pickens. I'm not going to call them busts, but they haven't really done much to warrant such high selections. Darnell Wright, that was a hit. That's what you need in a right tackle. You need somebody to protect it. Braxton Jones is a good story, but if Joe Alt is sitting there with that 9th pick, I'm sorry, I'm taking the most polished player, and he's got NFL bloodlines. His father was a Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle. So I'd rather take players with NFL bloodlines because then I know, okay, they have that mentor and figure coming into this league. That's why if Caleb Williams is not the guy and you want to move back, some say Marvin Harrison Jr. What's a wide receiver going to do without a quarterback? Unless you're telling me you're taking a quarterback in the 2nd round, I'm sorry. I take Caleb. May not be my number 1 quarterback on the board, but at this point in time, I need something. And when you have weapons to go to, you take Caleb and you do everything in your power to build around him. That's what Ryan Poles, he's being given this opportunity.
Sure.
So if he messes this up, forget about it. But if he hits the quarterback and he gets that winning quarterback, he's going to be getting himself a few more years to add more pieces. But this pick matters. I don't care if it's Drake May, Jane Daniels, or Caleb Williams, or anybody. That first pick, if it's a quarterback, it's got to hit. You got this opportunity for a reason. Make the most out of it. Do your research. No one's saying don't do your research. But unlike Ryan Pace, Ryan Poles has a prime opportunity to do his research and get the right quarterback. Pace screwed everybody over with Mitchell Trubisky. We knew that was a bust waiting to happen well beforehand. I did not think Patrick Mahomes was going to be as great as he is, but I knew he was a whole lot better than Mitchell Trubisky. And Deshaun Watson, I would have rather taken Deshaun Watson at that time. But that's why Pace gets the lion's share of the blame, if not all the blame.
Well, I totally get it. Poles is this is his one shot, one opportunity to get the his franchise quarterback, and I think tendency is that a lot of the GMs wants to draft his own quarterback and be tied to his professional reputation to that quarterback. So it was somewhat understandable, and I think it was no surprise that Justin Fields, despite the situation that he was put in, certainly didn't seem to improve much as a passer. Probably we can all look back at the rookie season where he got 9 sacks in his debut against the Cleveland Browns, and may have scarred him. The way that the Bears set him up there. And I totally agree that Ryan Pace's decision to move up and Matt Nagy's inability to cater the offense around his talent and be able to protect them was ultimately a recipe for disaster. So we'll get to the draft and free agency in a little bit, but we'll try and wrap up about the Justin Fields saga here. But let's talk about the future of Justin. We only got a 6th round pick, and obviously the question was whether it was enough or not. But on paper, certainly, 6th round pick, which turns into a conditional 4th round pick, is a slap in the face in the eyes of many people. But when you look at the context, it turns out, doing right by him, as Ryan Poles stated during the NFL Combine, allowing the market, unfortunately, to kind of play itself out, and there was only one team that was available, and allowing Fields and his agent to choose to go to Pittsburgh was what was ultimately the deciding factor. So, Nick, do you agree that this trade, in terms of going to a stable organization like the Steelers, was a what you call a doing right by him?
Ultimately, yeah, I would think so, because Pittsburgh is stable for decades with Mike Tomlin, and I would not be afraid of getting into a quarterback debate, a quarterback, challenge with Russell Wilson. I just wouldn't. He's continually gone downhill. Now, the scheme matchup with Arthur Smith's offense is a little perplexing, because Arthur Smith is big on play action, and they throw over the middle of the field, which both Russ and Justin Fields don't throw over the middle of the field very often. So that part of the match is odd, but if that's where Fields and his agent and team wanted to go, now, this is a big debate, because I know Courtney Cronin came out with they did right by him and took a lesser deal to help him, and some people think that is not true. Right. I don't think that it was Chicago had offered a 2nd or a 3rd and said, no, we'll take this 6th that could be a 4th. My guess is they probably got offered like a 5th or the value of a 5th by Philadelphia. Chicago said no. They pivoted to Kenny Pickett, and they got a 3rd to a 4th swap or whatever that deal was. And then it was. So I don't think it was a huge difference in value, but I do think they probably took lesser to get him out of the conference and get him to where he wanted to go, because the benefit of that, y'all, is the guys in the locker room. Cole Kmet got called by Eberflus saying, "Hey, we're making this move." Like, they care about the players. This isn't about, I don't think, as much compensation as it is about feelings. Chicago, remember the chants in the Atlanta game? We want Fields, right? And then you have the locker room believes in him. We heard all of those things over the offseason. So them doing right by him and treating him well helps the locker room, helps them believe in Flus, helps them believe in Poles. So I think there is a little bit more value there than people are letting on.
Sravan, do you agree with the the reports about what Courtney Cronin put out there, and do you kind of agree or disagree with the notion? And then I'll get to this question too, Nick. Since you were a head coach in a high school level, that perhaps Sravan, that they made this move to do right by him, but also that it would have been an awkward dynamics keeping Fields and drafting Caleb Williams, Drake May, or whoever we draft at quarterback, and then just let it play out the OTAs, mini camps, and even into the training camps in hopes that maybe somebody will call the Bears in case somebody gets a quarterback gets hurt. What are your thoughts on that?
First and foremost, if you're going to bring in a franchise quarterback, you don't keep the other young quarterback that you have on the roster and put them in a competition where it could be very uncomfortable. You want to give the opportunity to someone who really wants to earn it. And that means having an established veteran in there to not only teach the rookie, but to pressure him. You don't want to put two young first-round quarterbacks going back to back. I mean, granted, Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, but at the time, Smith was a proven veteran. Patrick Mahomes was still a young rookie. He had to learn. In the case of Caleb Williams or whoever goes number 1 overall, when you're picked in that spot, you are expected to start day one. It does not matter. If you cannot start day one as the number 1 overall pick, something's wrong. Now, Carson Palmer did sit for a year, but that was his choosing. That was the Bengals doing their thing. It is what it is. Yes. At the end of the day, if you're picked at that position, you need to be prepared. That means the rest of the draft is getting the players to build around you. The offseason, you are taking all the main reps and you are training yourself to play. You cannot have any distractions whatsoever, regardless of who's on your roster. You get in there, you play, that's that. No coach is going to just jettison a number 1 overall pick to the bench unless that number 1 overall pick is completely screwing up. Sometimes you have to take lumps. It doesn't matter if you struggle early on. You need to get in there and you need to see what you have as a coach. Lame duck coach, forget about it. Eberflus deserves at least this year and next year to see what Williams can be. If Williams is the number 1 pick. Again, we do not know. He could end up being it, and we could all look foolish for doubting anyway. Fine. But a coach at least deserves 2 years with his first-round quarterback. You get those 2 years to see what you can do with him. If you ain't good by then, you're out. It's as simple.
Nick, as a high school coach, obviously dealing with a lot of egos, of a young man. Do you kind of agree with the decision that Bears did not keep Justin long enough to, obviously not creating an awkward dynamic of having both quarterbacks, go into the camps?
Well, I've coached in college as well. There's a lot of ego in football. And you see it between coaches, power struggle. You see it with quarterbacks, with kind of any position. So there's a lot with that. If Chicago was completely selfish, okay, and the market was so bad, like they were saying, they would have kept him till training camp, till someone, got hurt, tore their ACL, whatever, quarterback, or the first few weeks of the season, and then traded him for more than what they got. But to me, I think they wanted to do what was right for Justin. And then, as Sravan was saying, what's right for Chicago? Because, the endless Twitter debates, the endless articles, the endless podcasts and radio hosts. Even Fields was saying, I just want to know, like everyone does. So I think for the distraction, it's fine. It has worked before. If we want to go all the way back to the Chargers, Drew Brees, right? He was there. He actually didn't do very well. They drafted Phillip Rivers, and then he started breaking out, had a couple good seasons, and he sat. But that's a small market. Chicago is big, and the debates have just been so overblown that I think that this was best for everyone to kind of have a divorce of sorts before, you kind of like remarry the new young quarterback. Like, I think it had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, it's a sad ordeal. We had a lot of high hopes for Justin. And as you can see on the screen here, this is an athletics article in regards to the phenomena and why, the fans had unique attachments to the quarterbacks. And my theory, of course, is that, a lot of young fans, didn't grow up watching, the Bears quarterback. Certainly, maybe they weren't old enough to watch Jim McMahon or Mike Tomczak, but mostly they're probably used to, seeing Rex Grossman, Brian Greasy, Kyle Orton, and then Jay Cutler for, decent amount of years, and then Trubisky, and now Justin Fields. And, I think there's this real thirst for a quarterback. Like every team's that has had some sort of a success, it starts with a quarterback. And I want to close out this topic on this article regarding the attachments to Fields and Sravan. Nick, obviously, and myself, we do a little bit of media work, and watching him from afar. Sravan, let's start with you. Were you kind of what were your overall impressions or feelings, opinions about, the whole Williams versus Fields thing? And then were you kind of, surprised by how it played out?
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. When you look at the situation with the Chicago Bears, they really wanted Justin Fields to be the guy. When they made that move on draft night to get him, I remember watching, and my first thought was, if this man's physical abilities pan out, this could be something to look forward to. But even at Ohio State, there were some flaws. Unfortunately, those flaws were exposed in the pros. You're not going to get a perfect prospect, but you have to find a way to work around it. Chicago fell in love with the kid because he gave his heart, he gave everything for that city.
Sure.
But when you don't win, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can give everything you have, and I get that. And I feel bad it didn't work out. But at the end of the day, this is a business. The players can even tweet like they're disappointed in that. Sure. But are you interested in hugging each other and making a love story? Or do you want Super Bowl rings and the ability to be known as one of the greatest players ever? I'd rather take number two. Granted, I'd like to have friends. I'd like to do all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is a job. It's not like college where, okay, you didn't get it in 4 years, but you're still a superstar. Your flaws are your flaws. No one really cares. Whatever. This is a professional business. And I'm learning it the hard way in my own profession now. They may like me, but if I don't perform, I'm out. So, unfortunately for Fields and the fans, that era is over. If you can't move on from it and you're too busy attached to your feelings, then maybe the sport is not for you. Maybe you're better off doing something else. And if people want to come at me and say I need to be quiet or whatever, I really don't care. I want the Bears to become a consistent Super Bowl contender and win a Super Bowl. It has been so long for this franchise. 1985 really doesn't matter. It's like 1918. Pardon me. It's like 1908 for the Chicago Cubs, 1918 for the Boston Red Sox. It really doesn't matter. At least if you had won the Super Bowl in 2006, people would have something to fall back on. But you all know Rex Grossman was not going to be Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
You need a legitimate quarterback to win. Now, granted, some will say, well, what about the Seahawks Legion of Boom? What about the Ravens defense with Trent Dilfer?
Yeah.
Legendary players can carry a team. That 06 Bears team, Brian Urlacher's a Hall of Famer. He's not a legendary player. Charles Tillman should be in the Hall of Fame. I consider him great, but he's not legendary. Yes, he put the peanut punch in there, but so what? We need a legendary player. Every Super Bowl champion has had at least one legendary player. Those types of guys can do it. You don't need to be Hall of Fame glitzy. You just need a good team. And the Bears have not been able to put a complete team together since 1985.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that you're in love with Justin Fields' playmaking ability. I love the kid. When he takes off of those runs and scores touchdowns, the first thing I'm saying to myself is, wow.
Yeah.
It's over. We're on to a new era, and
Yep.
we're going to need to keep finding a quarterback. We have to keep trying until we get that. Once you get the guy, build around him and win. Why did Cincinnati go to the Super Bowl and came within a referee looking to save Los Angeles from winning it? Cincinnati could have won a Super Bowl had an official not been so desperate to avoid getting out of LA unharmed. Brock Purdy could have won a Super Bowl with the 49ers had he actually done his job. If Jalen Hurts did not commit that turnover to Nick Bolton, the Eagles would have a Super Bowl ring right now.
Sure.
You need to have good quarterback play. I mean, even if he's not the elite guy, you need to have a legitimate franchise quarterback.
I push back, man. I'm going to push back. So to me, to answer the question, I was okay with what my stance has been. I've been okay with whatever polls decided. If it was to trade back for a bunch of picks, I was cool with it. If it was to, draft a new quarterback, I was cool with it. But like, there are many, like you just mentioned, the 49ers or the 49ers aren't great because of Purdy. They're great because they have a nucleus, and you have that. If you get a ton of assets, like if you get 3 top 10 picks that you can put around Justin Fields, it changes the dynamic. I mean, Chicago, we all know they had 7 wins last year. They were within 2 plays of having 9 wins. I mean, we know how close those other games were. Now you add in, 3 other top 10 picks. Can it work? I mean, to me, I think there's a lot of ways that this can work. I don't think you need a legendary player to win a Super Bowl. The Eagles won with Nick Foles. You mentioned Jalen Hurts changed when they had AJ Brown added to Devontae Adams and they had a good old line. You have other squads that get there, that get close. That Eli Manning, I don't think Eli Manning is phenomenal. I don't.
Sure.
He has 2 Super Bowls. So like there are different ways to go about this. And the whole time I was okay with whatever Ryan Poles wanted, because I mean, if Caleb Williams was legendary, we'll just say this, right? He doesn't have a national championship ring. His defense let him down this last year because you need the whole team, you need the whole squad. And so I think Ryan Poles has that view. That's why he's built up both sides. Now he has to build up more offense. We get that. But I was okay with either way, because I know some people talk about the contract that Fields would have to get, et cetera. But if you have, 3, 4 first-round picks that you would accumulate in value on rookie contracts, that's also cheaper, than what the regular guys of signing, getting Keenan Allen. If you had a rookie, that saves you $20 million. Like, you could go through, I think, and make your case either way. But I think Chicago wins no matter what they choose. This is an awesome gift that they got from Carolina. So I was okay with either way it went, but I think there's many different ways to win in football. It's not just quarterback. If it was just quarterback, then Josh Allen would have a Super Bowl ring. Then Justin Herbert would have a Super Bowl ring.
I get what you're saying, Nick. But I get it. There have been lesser tier quarterbacks that have won, but they need to have elite. They had to have all right, let's make it simple here. They need to have better quarterback play. Regardless of who the guy is, if your quarterback cannot play, you're not going to win. And yes, I may have gone on a limb by saying legendary or elite, but Chicago has never even had moderate to above average to sufficient quarterback play consistently. They've had glimpses here and there, but it's not a consistent level.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, you cannot win in the NFL. I'm not saying you have to have an elite offense. You've got to have that position because he can make up for most of the deficiencies on the team.
See, that's the part that I push back on, because you look at what made Jalen Hurts jump up. They added a superstar in AJ Brown. Same thing with Josh Allen. Same thing with Tua. Same thing. The only ones that don't need that is like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, because they're just goats. But like, to me, sure. I think, because you talked about Joe Alt, to me, I would rather have the wide receiver, because you already have a solid guy in Braxton Jones, whatever he could be. But having a guy in a long-term planet receiver, I don't know if they're going to extend Keenan Allen or not, but having those pillars is tried and true. Everybody, Eagles, 49ers, you look at the Lions, having the weapons, I think, is the biggest differential right now in the NFL.
No. I
Well,
get that, and frankly, I understand taking a receiver with that second first rounder, but I feel like with the way the situation is right now, maybe I would trade back from 9 to just a few picks down, maybe pick up a second round pick to recuperate from the Montez Sweat deal and still take a receiver. If you're not taking the tackle, one of the guys I would take is Brian Thomas out of LSU, Malik Neighbors' teammate, because he also is a very explosive player. And if we move back, you could potentially get a pass rusher in the second round or another offensive lineman. So you get the best of both worlds. You have a quarterback, you have a wide receiver, then possibly someone to protect him, or a guy that can go hunting for another team's quarterback to give your offense another opportunity to score more points.
mhm. Well, me personally, and I appreciate the spirited debate. I am just as tired as, every media members, as we saw locally and nationally, try to gaslight the whole situations about, Justin getting maybe a, first round pick and all that nonsense. And then, Diana Rossini giving an eye roll about, the fans still believing in Justin and all that kind of stuff. It's a national punchline. That all three of us, have to deal with consistently, and we have to see Sid Luckman's name, and then his old photos from the 20s or 30s, see on the screen all the time. So there is no doubt that the emotional attachments Justin, Justin gave a lot of us so much great highlights, and we really wanted it, to see him succeed, but. Unfortunately, now we must move on. And, speaking of moving on, guys, we're going to talk about the next topic I kind of wanted to discuss. It's a foregone conclusion. Caleb Williams, let's just say, for example, Caleb is the number one, overall pick. And, I'm working on an article, and certainly the question poses that not many people are talking about is, Matt Eberflus still the right coach, for Caleb Williams, as he enters the NFL. Certainly, a lot of criticism was garnered against Eberflus for blowing three double-digit leads, I should say, against Denver, Detroit, and Cleveland. And instead of a 7-10, we might have, we're talking 10-7, and Fields might be a starting quarterback in 2024. But obviously, it's neither here nor there. So. Nick, as somebody who coached college and high school level, and when you look at Matt Eberflus as a head coach, as a body of work, do you feel confident that he's going to learn from his mistakes and help Williams transition into the NFL smooth one, or do you still have problems with him?
I'm nervous with Matt Eberflus, but I think I trust. I don't know. I have a very high trust in Ryan Poles, whether that's I'm trying to be an optimist or not. But every time the guy speaks, I'm like, yep, this is my guy. And if he's continuing to believe in him, then I feel confident. And the part where I feel more confident with Flus is, because I thought of like, okay, they kept him when there was some good candidates this offseason for head coaches. And then I saw the staff he got. And I was like, oh, wow, you got Shane Waldron. You got Thomas Brown to come in as, not even like, he's just an extra coach. And he was 2 years ago, y'all, he was the offensive coordinator hot candidate because he had, anybody that has a cup of coffee with Sean McVay is going to be the next, whatever.
Yes.
And I was like, man, we're getting like a squad of coaches right now. And so, actually, I talked about this on our podcast with Robert that, like, let's say, I don't know, people don't like Flus and whatever. And let's say he's out after 1 or 2 years, even because most assistant coaches get 3-year deals.
Right.
I could see Waldron just going right in as the head coach. Cause I think the big thing is like, you don't want to learn new formations and motions and verbiage and offense, etc. But if you can keep that offensive coordinator the same, or if he transitions to head coach, I'd be okay with that. But seeing the caliber that they brought in already kind of told me they were going to go Caleb. And I think a lot of people are excited about the trajectory of Chicago. So I think I have to be excited about Flus. If they bring in high caliber and Poles still believes in him, I think I need to have some more confidence in him.
Sravan, I was somewhat, miffed about Eberflus being brought back, and obviously the relationship that Poles and Eberflus has is a very tight one. And Poles certainly tied his future and professional reputation to Eberflus is hopeful improvements. Do you feel hopeful, or do you still also feel like kind of still meh at this point about Eberflus as a head coach?
I'm a little concerned because
Yeah.
the defense has definitely been a little bit of a question mark, and the offensive choosing when he chose Luke Getsy and Alan Williams. Now, people forget Luke Getsy didn't exactly do much in Green Bay. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, Alan Williams once coordinated a defense with the Vikings that was among the worst in the league. Now, his claim to fame was ironically with the 2006 Colts team, because he had that elite secondary.
Yeah.
That really came to life in the postseason.
Right.
Now, and then he had the whole fiasco with the FBI.
Yeah, I remember that was an embarrassing storyline that broke out.
Yeah, it's the same old thing with the Bears, man. And again, I'm willing to give Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus the opportunity to pick their own quarterback. Getting rid of them without giving them a chance to pick a franchise quarterback to build around, I don't care how cutthroat the NFL business is. You at least deserve that opportunity. No matter who you are or what your record is, you deserve a chance to pick one. Now, whether or not you stick around long enough to see if it pans out, that's on you. But you deserve a chance to pick them. I'm not saying everything in this world is not fair, but at least that one, it has to be given a chance. You don't get a chance to pick two. No way.
Right. We saw that with Pace, and it turned out pretty bad. Yeah.
Yep. And if you get a second one, that's pure luck. But you get one. Absolutely, you have to get one shot. Absolutely. And for the Bears, you have a good opportunity now with the first overall pick. So, but here's the thing: how many first overall picks are in the Hall of Fame? Not many. Now, granted, you have to be extremely lucky. Maybe the Bears are fortunate because the Panthers are led by an owner who's just
just cuckoo. Yeah, just
a one-liner. He's just as bad at football operations as Jada Pinkett Smith with marriage responsibility.
I kind of get the analogy there. Certainly, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know if Nick's interested or whatever. I don't know if you heard that, but
no, actually, the other thing that was weird, because it was weird because I mean, honestly, Poles and Flus, I think they botched their first coaching hires. Is they had Jonko as their QB coach. Right, so
Janoko, but he wasn't horrible per se. But
well, he was a quarterback coach for 1 year.
Yeah,
that's his history. So, University of Pittsburgh, right?
Well, I haven't. Well, I mean, I just looked it up. I mean, in terms of the league in the NFL, he was O-line for 3 years, wide receivers for a year, and then quarterbacks, I think, for a year. So, and you think with a young quarterback, you're like, hey, let's get an experienced guy in here, just like you were talking about with the quarterback room, But, but this time they have that. You know what I mean? You have a guy that's coached quarterbacks for a few years in Kirby Joseph with Waldron, who knows the offense. Things all go together. Plus, I mean, you think of Keenan Allen coming in. His wide receivers coach is now the Bears wide receivers coach, so he knows him. So, things just make sense. It's like, why did this happen the first time?
I would say that my theory is that Matt Eberflus is not as well connected around the league, and which was somewhat of a massive issue because we saw with Alan Williams leaving a very tumultuous situation. And let's not forget the running backs coach David Walker was also fired because of multiple human resources violations. You don't hire two people who get shit canned in a short amount of time. That's on you. That's on Eberflus. So it makes sense that at least in the offensive coordinator search this time, Ryan Poles took more initiative because me and Rashad, we were worried, and I think a lot of Bears were worried that Eberflus was lazy enough to just hire somebody like Frank Reich because they coached together in Indianapolis and just be done with it. Yeah, we know that Frank Reich's track record the last couple of times as a Colts and Panthers head coach was just a disaster. Even though I feel sympathetic for Frank Reich to having to deal with a crazy owner like Jim Irsay and David Tepper.
Right.
But Frank Reich certainly it doesn't seem like he's interested in going back to coaching. Obviously, being paid by both organizations to sit out. So maybe we're seeing the last of Frank Reich unless something crazy happens. So we know that the number one pick overall, and we're going to presume that it's Caleb Williams. Both the Bears polls and Matt Eberflus is already in LA for the USC workout tomorrow. And a lot of debates now are, being made. Obviously, the same people who, went after each other, Williams and the Fields fan base. Let's say if Caleb Williams is the number one pick and, Matt Eberflus is going to learn from his past mistakes and then let Shane Waldron and his brand new offensive staff, let them do their job and everything. Mm-hmm. And with the weapons that we've added, DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett, and Keenan Allen, just to name a few. And of course, the upcoming draft in April. Sravan, what is your realistic expectation? I should say realistic, for Caleb Williams coming into year one? Is the playoff or bust, or do you still kind of like, he's a rookie, he's going to make his own mistakes? I'm fine with, maybe a 7-10 or 8-9 at least to, just get by.
No, we just saw what CJ Stroud did.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans.
And that really raised the bar, that's for sure. Yeah.
They were among the worst in the league, and in 1 year, they turn it around. Why can't we expect that from Chicago? Why not?
Well, that's true. That's true. So it's a playoff or bust.
The mediocrity of the midway, no. Like, this division is very much winnable. I know the Lions have been building their thing, and the Vikings are the Vikings. They got their stuff going on. They may trade up for a quarterback of their own. Who knows? The Packers, face it, they just own this team. Why can't the Bears step into this position and say, we actually have somebody now who is actually considered a real quarterback? What you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. You have a chance now, at least 10 wins at the minimum. You got to have expectations of actual consistency. You can't just settle for mediocrity. I don't care that the owner's 101 years old. Like they need to evolve from the 1920s. Yes. If not, get them out. And I don't care if Virginia has to go to the grave to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, is a playoff or bust is the same feeling for you, given what happened with the success of Houston Texans with CJ Stroud as a rookie?
No, because I mean, to me, I think what success is in 2024 is Caleb Williams has development. He has experience. You can see it coming together.
Sure.
It doesn't all have to come together because the Bears franchise isn't about 2024. It's about, in my opinion, 2025 through 2030, 2035. I mean, I think that's why you have Keenan Allen here. You don't have Keenan Allen here for, we have to, go to the championship game in 2024. It's about, we need a safety blanket for the quarterback so he keeps building this confidence level up. That's why Gerald Everett's there. Like, you want to keep building the confidence up. And I don't think throwing out numbers is fair. Wins, like, I'd love to have 10 wins. I'd love to make the playoffs. I think that they could be in that range, but I want him to be able to be the point guard and not have to be Russell Westbrook. We have to be the point guard and you have to be the superstar and score all the points, because as a rookie, let's just take the pressure off of him. CJ Stroud was phenomenal last year. That was a weak division. I mean, you could talk about the NFC North could be a tough division, y'all. Like, especially if Minnesota gets a quarterback, like, this could be like the next toughest division moving forward in terms of
Yeah.
everybody could be good. So
I get all that, but what I'm saying is we need to. All I'm really saying is we need to stop being so obsessed as a Bears fan with mediocrity. Okay, we don't make the postseason, fine, but is there anything that this season can show you that Caleb Williams can be that franchise quarterback?
Yeah.
Because if not, you've essentially wasted another golden opportunity. And like in life, people are going to get a second chance. You don't get third chances.
Right. And I'm on the spectrum that like both of you are saying. I definitely can see the Bears win 9 games if everything breaks. We have to look at the schedule that will probably likely released in May, shortly after the draft, and how the week by week the games are stacked out. There's no question. The division, the Packers and the Lions are clearly the top 2 right now. The Vikings are, I don't think they're in a complete rebuild mode, but they're obviously going to get their quarterbacks. And, the Packers and the Lions, they're not going to go away. And I don't think that they're going to be a massive drop-off this year. The Bears certainly have to, definitely keep up within their own divisions. We haven't beaten the Packers in ages, unfortunately. The Lions have suddenly become a better team now. And it was ironic that back in 2022, the Bears lost to the Lions in Chicago on a missed field goal. Not field goal, a missed extra point. And from that point on, the Lions just went up, just straight past us. And while we were just going downhill from there, due to a rebuild. So, I want to see the Bears certainly do well. If we can win 7 games with all the problems that we dealt with on the field and off the field, I can see this team definitely with a few breaks here, 9-10 wins, and that's definitely a bar that we have to probably set forth. And obviously it's not about mediocrity. The expectations are there, and in my opinion, having a realistic and maybe healthy relationship, expectations. I think is a good one, and maybe Nick can as a coach attribute, how do you make sure to have a realistic expectations and make sure that as a coach, or make sure that that expectations can be met, and what can the Bears do to do so?
Mm-hmm. Well, to me, I think it's about building. It's about getting better every day, like focusing on, am I making better reads today? Is my footwork better today? Is my leverage better today? Tackling, my effort, all those things, I think, are the things that you build on, because when you start thinking of the things outside of your control, because luck is a part of the game. Injuries are part of the game, like all of those things. So I think just continually getting better. And that's what you want to see. Honestly, I hope week 1, this is going to sound bad. Week 1 is the worst Caleb Williams that we see, right? I hope Bears fans obviously support and don't start booing and don't have, and then week 2 and things just continually get better. I know it's not going to be a consistent line, but that's the trajectory that you want. The other part of this conversation, guys, is I was just pulling up the schedule, because I was like, what divisions do the Bears play next year? And they have, so the NFC West, so they'll play the Aaron Donald retirement kind of helps a little bit, right? Playing the Rams, and Seattle God. And Arizona, and then obviously the 49ers are going to be good. And then they play the AFC South, which, you could say whether that's good or bad. I mean, you have Stroud and Jacksonville's kind of up and down. Then the Colts are kind of up and down, and the Titans are, paying a lot of money to Calvin Ridley. But then you also have the Commanders, which should be an easy win. You have the Patriots, that should be an easy win. You have the Panthers, which should be easy win. So I think you have some hope for a bunch of wins. But I just want to see Caleb Williams do well next year. If that happens, then I think everything is good moving forward.
Absolutely. And speaking of
are they playing the Commanders at Soldier Field or in Washington, D.C.?
Washington.
Okay. Then I'm going.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And I'm going. Like I don't care. Like I want to see what this new guy can do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, for him, Caleb Williams is obviously, he's from the DC area. So it's a nice.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of people from Gonzaga College Prep where he went to school.
Yeah.
If Chicago takes Caleb and they come in with Caleb, the entire Gonzaga College Prep School is coming out, and there's going to be a lot of people from the DMV coming to watch this kid.
Right.
And frankly, I want to see if he's the dude.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see what this dude can do.
Yeah.
I don't care how bad the team is. I want to see what he can do in my hometown. So.
Well, speaking of Sravan, in the sad part of this is I saw Caleb Williams live last year. I was at the USC Notre Dame game, so I was there for the Valley. You know what I mean? The worst.
But hey, I can use a peak. You go for the Valley, I go for the peak.
Yeah. There we go.
Right. There's nowhere to go but up from here as well. You know, for Williams and the Bears.
You guys should come down. Actually, why not? I mean, Steven and Nick.
Yeah, we'll definitely. I'll definitely look at the schedule and then make a trek there. You know, I went to George Washington, so it's been a long time since I've been to the DC area. So
I'm just saying, like the amount of Bears fans that showed up for the night.
Yes,
by the way,
God
rest his soul, Dick Butkus. God rest his soul.
I remember. Yeah,
you kind of knew the Bears weren't going to lose that night. Let's be honest. There is no way.
It was a magical night. I remember that was a magical night. So.
I actually met Dick Butkus a long time ago when I was at Montana State. They had their spring banquet, and I was there, and I got to get a picture with him and met him. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right.
Can't wait for them to come to town. It's gonna be fun to watch the Bears in town again. That'll be my very first ever NFL game that I've been to. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining me tonight on this chat, and we're going to close out with the question. I know we had a little bit of a discussion earlier. The scenario for the Bears with the 9th overall pick. Obviously, the first overall pick, we know it's going to be Caleb Williams, barring any scenario changes. Now the question becomes, it's the 9th overall pick. The Bears have traded away their second round pick, certainly went to Montez Sweat. And then the 4th round pick that they had gotten from, I believe, Philadelphia for the Jalen Carter trade last year went to the Los Angeles Chargers for Keenan Allen. And they have the first, the third, and only a later pick. So I believe they have, 5 picks right now? At this point, 4 or 5?
4 at this point.
4. Okay. So, Sravan, I hope, I'm sorry for making you repeat this. With the 9th overall pick, you said that if Joe Alt is there, you get him, right?
I would take an offensive tackle, but at the same time, I agree with Nick in the fact that I would use another receiver. I could use a third receiver because if Keenan Allen goes down, you still have 2 guys to work with. But if I'm doing that, Nick, if I'm taking a receiver, I'm trading down from 9 and getting a second-round pick to get an offensive lineman because pass rushers can be found in the later parts of the draft. The one thing the Bears can do, and I'll give them credit for this, with the exception of Shea McClellan in my lifetime, they know where to find pass rushers. So I'll give them that. They know how to find defensive linemen and pass rushers. So they can go late in the 3rd or 4th round. There's going to be some guys out there that you can get your hands on. But you got to get the center position fixed at least, or even a tackle. If you want to tackle, whatever. But if you got to get the center position, Ryan Bates is not it. Get a better center, get a receiver, and get your quarterback because those are the keys. There's certain positions in the NFL that you have to pay as your core pieces. An alpha receiver, obviously a quarterback, and your offensive line. The center is the most important position on the offensive line that no one talks about. If you got an elite center manning that front, you have a chance. Every Super Bowl team in the recent era has had it. Jason Kelce, Philadelphia Eagles. David Andrews, New England Patriots. Max Unger, Seattle Seahawks.
Creed Humphrey,
Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely. Brian Allen, of course, the Rams. People want to poke fun at him, but that man was a baller. That man was a baller for the Rams, so I'm going to give him his love there. Matt Paredes with the Broncos. Hey, kudos to you, my guy. Ryan Wendell, Patriots. Mike Webster. Who's it?
Yeah, there's Jay Hilgenberg too.
Jay Hilgenberg, of course. Olin Kreutz, even though he didn't win for us, did Olin Kreutz not manhandle that front line for us? He most certainly did.
Certainly did. Absolutely. Nick, with the ninth overall pick, if the Bears stay put, there's a decent amount of good pass rushers that are available. Jared Burse's name have come up, Dallas Turner. Obviously, there's a speculation that, they got Keenan Allen to kind of appease Matt Eberflus, needing another second edge rusher to go along with Montez Sweat. It seems as though, with the traits, they seem to like the long arm guys, like 34-inch arm, length and traits, stuff like that. Montez Sweat has certainly exceed that. The guy that I'm kind of curious is Dallas Turner. Obviously, not a super massive guy like Montez Sweat. As a coach, when you want somebody, trade versus find a way to utilize talent. How important is that? And do you think that guy like Dallas Turner or even the UCLA's Latu guy, with the neck injury and all that, would be a successful pass rusher? Even with the not necessarily having the length that they're looking for.
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, you see that all the time in college, right? You see the guys the college coaches go after the athletic because they think they can coach them up, right? The NFL, you see some of that too. And to me, I mean, you would love to have both. I would probably still. I want to see the athleticism on the field. If I see that, I think I can do something with it. Turner's my top edge because of arm length, because of athleticism, but also because he's good against the run. He's not a liability.
Okay.
But I also don't think Turner, and this is going to be probably controversial, I don't think Turner versus or Latu are worth the 9th overall pick. I just don't think they are. When you think of overall values right now, like I think of, I think 4 quarterbacks are going to go before the Bears pick or at the Bears pick, and then the 3 receivers, then you have Alton, probably another offensive lineman. The one thing I'm going to disagree with Sravan on is I think that the Bears offensive line right now, they've insulated it for the reason of not going offensive line early, not having to. I mean, they got Matt Pryor, who started at both tackles and guard as a solid backup to upgrade over Larry Borum, who they'll probably cut and save some money. They bring in Coleman Shelton, who was a middle of the road center last year, which is being middle of the road, sadly, is a massive upgrade over the last couple of years of what we've had. And then you have Ryan Bates to fill in because there are injuries, as you said, with Tevin Jenkins and sadly Nate Davis too. Yeah, who I think Davis is going to bounce back. He's had 3 really good years in Tennessee, and then he had a high ankle sprain, and sadly lost his mother last year. So, like, you had all those, and they had Jake Kernan, who I don't really like, but he's another reserve guy that Waldron knows. That's a lot of depth, and when you start getting depth, teams can get more wins because you can fill in for injuries. But if you have that much depth, I don't know that alt makes the most sense to me. In my list of scenarios of what I want receiver at 9. Then my second scenario would be trading up for a receiver.
Marvin Harrison?
Well, or any of them, because Keenan Allen is a free agent after this year.
Hold on. If you're trading up for a receiver, there's only one man that you need to go get.
That's Marvin Harrison, right?
Exactly.
I like all 3
with all due respect, there is only one receiver that you go up.
Okay.
I don't think so, because you can move up to 6 if you wanted to. You can move up to 7.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, Nick. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, if I'm going for a receiver, I'm taking the son of a Hall of Famer. Because I get it. Yeah. The father has those bloodlines. Normally, if your dad's a Hall of Famer and he's been tutoring you and training you and teaching you for all these years, and he is one of the more respected figures in the NFL, I'm willing to put my money in that basket. I get it. I love any receiver.
Brendan Rice is your guy then too?
I'm taking him.
Is Brendan Rice your guy then too?
Brendan Rice is one of my top 50 players in this draft. Yes.
Wow. Okay, I don't have him there.
I think it does make sense to pair, Williams and Rice together from their days in USC.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It is possible. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I could see that.
Familiarity can breed it.
Oh yeah.
Well, value. I'm not saying Brendan Rice is going to be Jerry, but I tend to have a preference toward guys whose dads played in the NFL.
I know
that's true.
They have that experience coming in. That's something that you cannot get for other players. Right. Some people may be more gifted and talented, but when you have someone in your family that's been there and done that, you have a role model to look up to.
Right. No, I get
And
it.
in this
So
day and age, not many kids have that.
So the one scenario I don't really like is I don't like trading down into the teens and getting Brian Thomas. I see a huge drop off after the top three. If I'm trading down, I would trade down massively, maybe to like if it's to the teens, then it's down again into the 20s.
Okay.
Because I like Ladd McConkey a lot. Like that group of receivers.
That is
there's a
true. That
bunch.
Georgia kid's a pretty.
And
He reminds me of Puka Nacua.
I mean Ricky Pearsall. I mean, there's a lot of guys I like. So if you're going to do that, then just get a massive amount of picks. So,
Okay.
but I think there's a lot of ways they could go. I mean, I'm not against getting Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm not. I'm just saying if you can get a top 10 guy because we're here. I don't think the Bears are going to be there again after this year.
Right.
You could get a Jamar Chase to pair with Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's wrap it up with this a quick question. 2 receiver questions. Number 1, we mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. Would you part the 2025 Carolina second to move up high enough to get MHJ? Sravan, yes or no?
I mean, I just spent time talking about getting that, but if we need to go get an alpha receiver for our quarterback, absolutely. There's the one thing that teams that I've noticed, it can be a wide receiver or a tight end. A quarterback will have a pass catcher that he's developed a great rapport with, and that leads to success.
Okay.
So if you get something like that, if you have to make that move, sometimes you have to make a tough decision in life. And I'm willing to go get that if you can assure me that they will have a great connection for years to come. I'm willing to pay that price.
Nick, would you do that for MHJ?
In a heartbeat.
Okay. Final question. Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors? Nick, go.
Rome Odunze. He's more well-rounded. I think there's less risk, and he pairs way better with DJ Moore in the offense.
And you
I'm with you.
Agree with that, huh?
I'm with you. I like Malik Neighbors. Don't get me wrong. Malik Neighbors has got a lot of ability that can translate to the pros. But the way Rome Odunze did, listen, I'm a Michigan guy doing data science at the University of Michigan, going for a master's. So I'm a Wolverine fan, and I've seen what this man could do going into that national championship. He legitimately terrified me because that man, granted, Michigan had a good defense. Let's not get it twisted. But if any receiver could, you met Jim Harbaugh. That's awesome. Nick, that's awesome. But Rome Odunze, of all the Washington receivers, that man legitimately scared the crap out of me going into that championship because the man was a sharp route runner, strong hands, and he's so evasive. If he gets that ball and he puts that move, he's gone. And that legitimately is skills that I would take. If Marvin Harrison's not available, you told me I can get Rome Odunze, run up to the board and get that card in for that kid. That kid with DJ Moore, if Keenan Allen moves on, that's a great 1-2 punch. A veteran and a young hotshot. What more could you possibly ask for?
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, gentlemen, it was a great spirited conversation. I really appreciate you guys doing this tonight. We're obviously sad that Justin Fields didn't pan out, but we certainly have a lot to look forward to nowadays with the Chicago Bears, with the way they're putting the team together. And next month's draft offers us a lot of options and hopes. And certainly, hopefully we're able to put past the bickering and the attacking of fans amongst each other on social media, and look forward to the brighter days. And then look forward to the next season. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. And, you guys were incredible. You brought, a tremendous amount of energy. And, I was very much, impressed and so happy. And if you're watching this right now on, our YouTube channel or on my Twitter timeline, I hope that if you're a Chicago Bears fans, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, but also follow Nick. You can see his Twitter handle there, and also Sravan Gannavarapu on the Twitter handle there. And Sravan also does a YouTube channel, and Nick also does his podcasts with people like Robert Schmitz, people that are very well known and connected among the Bears nation. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great evening, and look forward to having both of you guys again in the near future, perhaps next month after the draft is over, and look back at the draft in general. Have a great night, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.